Hey everyone, welcome back to our podcast. Lost track of where we are on the episode. Doesn't matter anymore. We got a lot to talk about today. With me today is Jared, guitar garage guitar man. I don't. Are you in a garage?
No, back room.
Okay, Roger.
Yo,
Roger's gonna hit us up with some of the preliminary Edge of Eternities lore. But big announcement, June 30th, 2025. We need to talk about the biggest, hottest thing that happened today. Ban and restricted announcements. Huge bans coming down from Wizards of the Coast on the standard metagame. As you know, they just had the PTQ, or not the PTQ, sorry, the Pro Tour standard, where all top 8 decks had 4 copies of Monstrous Rage, and I think there were in total 16 copies of Corey Steelcutter. So initially, I was thinking, hey, I mean, Monstrous Rage getting banned for sure. Come on, they should have banned Monstrous Rage the last time they did the bans. I didn't think they were gonna ban Corey Steelcutter this fast, just because the card just came out like in April or something, and they didn't ban Monstrous Rage last time. So I was like, why would they ban? Why same mentality? Like, don't ban it so quickly. See what happens. But they banned that. Not only did they ban both of those, they banned a bunch of other cards that like weren't even doing well. So we did talk about last time a while ago up the Beanstalk getting banned. Lo and behold, it's banned. So very interesting. A lot of the cards are actually uncommons. So really not much like in terms of money value changing here, which is very interesting. Other than Corey Steelcutter, right? And Buella's Awakening wasn't worth anything anyway. So I want to talk about. So I want to get everyone's thoughts on the bans, what's gonna happen going forward, and I think this opens up a lot of opportunity for other cards to rise in terms of usage, in terms of popularity, and money value. So we'll talk really quickly about like what cards we think are gonna do well, what decks we think are gonna do well. So Roger, hit us with your take, man. What do you think about all the cards being banned, and what do you think about the future of Standard?
I think I've heard a lot of different content creators talk about this already, and everyone sounds optimistic, and they all gave their viewpoints on why these bannings were either good or they weren't really considering them as something that was particularly evil at the moment, but that the history of the game before it is right now, the new standard meta, the one that we're in right now, if we just look a couple step backs, a lot of these cards that are being banned were notoriously like evil in the format before these very fast aggressive decks just like popped out at the forefront, and that became the new standard meta. So I think everyone was in agreement that good on Wizards of the Coast for thinking that far ahead. But with rotation happening so close, and new sets coming out, there were a couple of curious things that a few content creators talked about that I kind of want to bring up here. And one has to do with, yes, I think Eugene, you nailed it on the head, that with a new standard format is going to come new best decks, which is going to probably make a few cards just jump to the top. And one of them that is foreseeable on a lot of people's radar is Fear of Missing Out, because there's two decks like the
FOMO.
Oculus deck. Yeah, Oculus plays FOMO, and also Gruul decks also play four of in that configuration, and these are two great decks that can really come up in the format. Um, but aside from that, one of the things that other content creators are talking about is it gives designers this precarious space in the future to accidentally create cards that put us in a worse space. So, for instance, Abuela's Awakening was banned, right? And while a lot of people agree with the banning of Abuela's Awakening, they think that they hit the wrong card, because Abuela's Awakening wasn't the problem.
It was
The
Omniscience.
problem was Omniscience. And that means that you can't print another card like Abuela's Awakening in the future. Otherwise, Omniscience will go out of hand. But we do know that, I think Yuna, right? Yuna is a 5 mana
Uh
version
huh.
where it could bring Omniscience in.
But it's 5 mana
So
instead of 4, and it's 2 colors, though.
That's
It's
a
it's 5 mana
creature
instead of 4 is
and it's
two
a
colors, yeah.
creature. Now,
that
wait,
has to
hold on.
last
Let
the
me just
turn.
hold on. Don't ban Omniscience yet. I still gotta play it in my Kona deck. I high run it in my Kona deck. Kona rising to the top.
Well, you know what? I wanted to keep Hopeless Night. I loved Hopeless Nightmare. That thing was friggin' awesome. Oh man, I was the very little bit of standard I played was like we usually like it was like I think I was like Orzov, but it was old black and some other combination where I was playing around with like enchantments matter and Hopeless Nightmare. It was Hopeless Nightmare into what's the fairy that bounces permanent
That's
when it
the
comes in?
pixie, some nurturing
The
pixie.
Pixie, yeah. Yeah. First turn Hopeless Nightmare into a second turn Pixie into another Hopeless Nightmare is brutal.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, and I mean that was just wonderful. And I mean I played against the card every now and again. The way I was using it was really hurt, but my deck was not I was not able to get to the top of any sort of
Yeah, Hopeless Nightmare. I don't
thing.
know. Like it's fine and it's annoying and whatever, but you ran those. There was there are two cards that if you discard it, you just play it. So that would be like the Baloth. I don't remember what it's called. Some Baloth, and then
I
there's
see.
Guilt Leaf
Yeah, yeah.
Liege, which they
Yeah.
printed in Foundations. I love doing that.
Gotcha.
When Hopeless Nightmare was in the meta, very popular in the meta, I was running both of those in my deck, and just they cast down turn one, you get Guilt Leaf Liege on turn one, you win the game.
Yeah.
But
No, I don't see like just based on my experience with it. I didn't play against it that often. It wasn't super oppressive. I abused it, and my deck still wasn't the best of any sort of meta at all. But yeah, I definitely played a. Yeah, go ahead.
so, Roger, sorry, we're gonna let you get back to your thing, but real quick, Corey Steelcutter, Abuela's Awakening, Monstrous Rage, Heartfire Hero, the mouse, Up the Beanstalk, Hopeless Nightmare, and This Town Ain't Big Enough. So, Roger. Oh, they talk about this. They talk about Nurturing Pixie.
There you go. But it's for mouse strategy, I guess interesting. I wonder if it would.
See, there were three decks clear at the top: red base aggressive, mouse strategies, self bounce synergy decks powered by Nurturing Pixie and often referred to as Pixie decks, and Domain Overlord's Ramp.
Mm-hmm.
I do,
Gotcha.
but look, I think Beanstalk needed to go.
Beanstalk for sure. I agree. I don't. I mean, I always said, why did it draw when it came in?
Roger. So Roger, what else did you hear from the other content creators and stuff like that?
So
We were talking
so
about
one of the
omniscience,
things-
right?
Yep. So one of the things that Wizards mentions is the mana curve, right? So things happening too fast, too quickly, and to allow that gameplay of development, right? Like you could set up your offense while I could set up my defense, and we could have this good interaction of gameplay, right? So they didn't want to uh, make overpowered just the 1 to 2 converted mana cost plays, right? So they want standard to breathe a little bit, right? And it's something that a lot of people have been saying for a long time because like the mouse package, you went up to what CMC3, the Corey Steelcutter package, what CMC3, right? Um, but what's curious is that a stance that Jim Davis is willing to die on is that he doesn't agree that banning should happen like this and this aggressively.
Yeah.
Because if you start banning this load of cards, then the next time there's a supposed boogeyman, then they start banning those, and it becomes harder and harder for players who spend the money to build the decks, to go to FNMs or to go to big tournaments. It just becomes costly for the paper player, and not really truly too much so for the online player, which is very interesting because there were cards before this that we're now going to see an emergence of. And I think, Eugene, this is something that you were talking about, like just seeing what the future is going to hold. But does anyone remember like Enduring Curiosity, how impressive
Yeah.
that card was?
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
to me,
I
there's
mean,
probably
it
one of
wasn't
those.
oppressive, but it's very, very powerful. But
Yep,
that's
Oleanic.
so that's a good point though, Roger. That let standard breathe a little. So yes, the mouse decks you couldn't really play anything else because they were just so fast, so strong. Same with the
Yeah.
omniscience. I hated playing against the omniscience deck. Like
Yeah.
once they got it out, the game was over. But it still took like
For sure.
5 more minutes for the game to end.
Yeah.
So
It
you don't
was
even
too
get to
late.
play. So yeah, that makes sense. I don't know about
Right.
the other like and then Beanstalk.
You know
Look,
what?
they should have banned
I,
Beanstalk last time and banned Monsters Rage last time.
whatever happened to restricting? Why don't they just do why don't they try that with some of their bans? It's a soft ban, and when a deck can only run one copy of something, like it's basically gonna knock it out of the meta because it's efficiency is just knocked to the freaking
I
curb.
mean, I think if you restrict it, you're essentially just banning it. What's the difference? Who's gonna play one
Yeah,
Monsters Rage?
I mean, look at let's say they restricted omniscience, okay, and okay, like Abuela's Awakening. If that's its only target, which I know there's probably some other targets, but omniscience is obviously the best one. Like, would they even bother running Abuela's Awakening anymore or would they start experimenting with some other top tier like enchantment targets? I don't know, Knights of Around maybe.
Knights of Round. Oh, so yeah, you could
but
Abuelo's Knights Around, right? Yeah.
or Bahamut.
But you
right?
could still do it with Yuna.
True. But yeah, but same argument, right?
And
You
they
need a
will.
counter spell to get around Abuela's Awakening, but you can't. But you can have a creature removal
Or
against
graveyard
Yuna.
hate, like instant exile.
True. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, even if they. Okay, Corey Steelcutter's so good. If they restricted it, would they still play it in some sort of like Spells Matter deck or in a VV deck? They probably would.
Nah,
It wouldn't be it wouldn't be the problem that it is. It's just they would go like, oh, this is the game where I drew Corey Steelcutter, I'm gonna win, and then I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just I was just thinking
Alright.
about that when I saw that huge list of bands. It's like, well, why don't they just try that?
Yeah. Any
sometimes?
last thoughts, Roger, that you wanted to share?
Well, yeah, just one of the things, and just I do love your point, Jared, because it is a great solution. I think what they're trying to figure out, and something that they do mention in this article, is that they weren't prepared. They were eager and anxious to extend standard, right? So this is going to be the longest standard we're gonna have, right? Coming up, but they weren't prepared for what that was going to look like and what these like what do you call it when you take medicine and then there's like all these other
Oh, the
symptoms.
side effects.
Exactly. So they weren't ready for all these side effects. So that's why they did something this drastic right now, and they only have very few windows to do this kind of thing.
Oh,
So
yeah,
maybe
yeah.
restrictions would be very difficult because then they might have to do more restrictions.
Well, they
or
should have
unrestricted.
banned it last time.
Yeah.
Or if they do restrict, but it needed a full ban, right? Even just having one, right? Then they have to wait a whole other window to do the actual banning. So maybe
Yeah.
just banning outright. This is just also a side effect of the way that standard is moving forward in longer formats.
Well, hey,
Yeah.
you know what's interesting is that look at how many of these cards came from Wilds of Eldraine. Monsters Rage, Up the Beanstalk, Hopeless Nightmare, they're all from Wilds of Eldraine.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
that one's gonna get. When's that get knocked out?
It would be January 2027?
Oh man, yeah, this
I
is
believe.
a long standard.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy.
Well, March of Machines, Brothers War, Phyrexia will be one. Something else is rotating out in with the release of Edge of Eternities.
Oh, that's something that Wizards mentioned in the article too. One of the reasons for Of the Beanstalk was that they love designing cards where you could cheat a mana cost, right? Like not cheat a mana cost, but reduce the mana cost, and they want to keep printing those. And Of the Beanstalk was just one of these things that they didn't foresee was going to be that powerful. So that's one of the biggest reasons why they banned that one, because
Well, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, just because they're going to be printing more cards that are going to be so good with it, you know.
Interesting. I mean, I know Eugene mentioning in limited for Final Fantasy, what one of the archetypes is like mana value 4 or greater, right? And it's a pretty good one.
Non-creatures, mana 4 or greater. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's the best one.
Oh yeah. I mean, are we gonna start seeing that kind of hop up to kind of take the place of what the Beanstalk was doing? I know maybe there's no draw engines as powerful, but so many spells that were cheat the mana cost. You could
You have to
cast them that cost 2.
you have to spend 4 mana.
Okay.
to
Because
get the
that's
payoff.
that's That's how they fixed it then. Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. Jared, you want to add anything before we move on about the
No.
bans? Okay, real
Cool.
quick, last thing before we move on, everyone, pick your winners in terms of either what kind of decks or what kind. Let's focus on singles. Pick your winners. Which singles are going to rise because of this? Oh, and before that, I just want to show the price and what's going on with Corey Steelcutter. Price tanking right after announced. So it has already been dropping. It was so obvious this was going to happen that people already sold a lot of it off. But so if we're looking at the 3-month chart, at the peak of it, it was sitting around 1450 for Corey Steelcutter. Is the base version. And then the announcement was today, right, June 30th. And it hit kind of started ever since May 19th ish, started to go down and hasn't stopped going down. And it is currently sitting at $6.65 and falling right now. And don't even like all those other uncommons. They're worthless now.
Yeah. Interesting.
So yeah, I mean, Monster Bolas Awakening was never really worth anything. Monster Rage, I think it got to around $3 or $4. I think it's like under $1 now. I didn't look at Heartfire Hero. It never really got that expensive, like $1 or $2. I'm pretty sure it's under $1. Up to Beanstalk did get up to like $3 or $5, but I'm sure it's under, maybe it's like $1. I'm interested to see where Up to Beanstalk, because I feel like Up to Beanstalk is maybe playable in Commander or
Commander.
Yeah.
It's playable in Commander.
Well, it's $1.13, so worth nothing. Hopeless Nightmare.
And Corey Steelcutter's playable in Commander too.
True. Yeah, I mean it's still $6, right? Hopeless Nightmare never really got anywhere. Not worth anything. This time big enough, got to like $5. But it's not worth anything. I'm sure it's like $1 or less. It is. Yep, 75 cents now. And look, 3 months ago it was like $1.80. If you look at the 6-month chart, $3.50 in February. And if you back up, okay, no, it never really got past $3.50. It was like $3. Anyway, all right. What's winning? So Jess Guy, Oculus, Fear of Missing Out, Oculus, Abhorrent Oculus.
Oculus is gonna go back up for sure.
Yeah, Dimir Control.
I mean, is there enough graveyard hate to mess with the Oculus deck?
There's a lot of graveyard hate, right?
Yeah. That would be my only worry. I feel like it got really under control with that because that deck was really prevalent. But maybe did it only get under control because the other one, the archetypes that just got knocked out by the bans were just stronger.
Yeah, I mean, well, think about it like this: the Abuelo's Awakening Omniscience deck relied 100% on the graveyard. So I don't think graveyard hate is going to weaken the deck that much. It's just you couldn't play anything other than red aggro if you wanted to compete.
Yeah.
That's just how oppressive the red aggro and Izzet decks were. So I think other decks that were popular, they had the mono black decks, like you were saying, Roger. So you think Unholy Annex, right? It's gonna rise.
Yeah, definitely one of the greater card drive.
That's a good card.
Dimir Control will probably be a front runner too with Oculus.
Dimir, yeah. So Curiosity, you think Enduring Curiosity?
Yeah.
Drake Hatcher. Drake Hatcher. It's coming.
Oh shit.
It's coming.
Drake Hatcher. It's coming, man. It's gonna go from 80 cents. It went from like 15 cents to 8. Jared's calling it right here. You heard it here first. Jared called Drake Hatcher from 15 cents to like what, 60 cents? Where's it going next? Sky's the limit. 90 cents?
I mean, of course, the Corey Steelcutter was a big part of a lot of those decks, but you don't have to play for it to.
Yeah, they still have
plenty
VV.
of prep. They have VV. Oh yeah, they have VV, and they still have the bird, the +2/+1 when you cast non-creature.
The bird?
Yeah, the one with plot it's like a 2/2 flying haste or whatever.
Yes.
That one's really good.
I don't know. Where was this Izzet deck gonna go? It lost Corey Steelcutter and it lost Monstrous Rage. VV and Wild Ride is a thing. You give VV haste, so you on 4 mana, 3 mana you cast VV, you pay 1 red, give it Wild Ride, then it can give you 4 more mana and it has haste. Stock up is still there, so I still think It's still
You know, I'm interested. How much is? Oh, this is kind of an inflated price, but how much is Tifa worth? Because I've only played against her
Tifa
in Brawl.
Lockhart.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
the
so many
landfall
versions.
one,
It's not
the landfall one.
the regular
And
printing. It's
yeah.
wow. Look at this one. It's $1,000 for the promo.
But the $5 one,
Dude,
right?
this $1,000 for the promo is not even the foil one. It's 1,000.
Wow.
So you got this $1,000 card just for participating in the PTQ. You didn't even have to place, because if you placed, you get the foil version. $5,000.
They're printing money, dude. It's like, here, have
Yeah,
$5,000.
I regret not participating in that. Like, you literally, all you have to do is go in there, get your promo, and you come out with $1,000.
Yeah.
My goodness. All right, sorry. I just
Here we back to Final Fantasy.
okay, we're looking at
Oh yeah,
this
but
one.
yeah, I mean, even her, like even
She's $4.
She's a yeah, but like it's hard to tell with Final Fantasy how much of that is just
It's here's my copyright.
like Final Fantasy hype or how popular she is. Because I was gonna say, I went to a card convention that we all go to. I don't know if we're sharing names or whatever, but yeah, I told you guys about
MagicCon?
it. Yeah, no, not MagicCon.
Okay.
What the one that we go to, are not so local one.
Oh, you went to go visit Frank and his sons, right?
There you go. That one,
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. But so like I wanted to look at some like basic like there was like a commander rare that I wanted, and like nobody has any.
Is it, it's a Final Fantasy card?
Yeah, it was from one of the decks or whatever, and it's one that's not where there's Ixion. Summon Ixion.
How do you spell that?
But Ixion.
Uh-huh.
Let's see how much it's worth actually.
It's like $6.
$5. I mean, so my point was though that it's like nobody had
Rising.
any product.
Because it's so popular.
It's just. Yeah, just the IP is just so popular. Just people just want the cards in general. I don't know about like at least that was for rares at least.
Yeah,
like
that's
yeah,
wild.
any rares or any rares or mythics.
But they will fall. They will fall.
Yeah, they will. I think. But my so that was me pointing that out about Tifa. I have played against her in Brawl. And man, she can become very big, very fast. In Brawl, they play her turn 2. You have to kill her or you're dead the next turn.
Wow.
Yeah, because all they need to do is drop one giant growth-esque type buff on her, and then one fetch land, and she's already over 20 damage.
But we don't. Do we have fetch
crazy.
lands in standard? No, right?
No, but you have Terramorphic Expanse. That's all you need. You just need one land drop that searches for
I
another
think we have
one.
Fable Passage. I think we have Fable Passage.
Yeah, Fable Passage, yeah, and Bloomburrow, yeah. So
No, it's in
But yeah,
Foundations,
but-
isn't it? Or Bloomburrow? Oh, maybe.
it might be in
maybe
both. Yeah, but my point is, yeah, like what is she, a 1/1 or a 2/2? I can't remember.
She's a 1/2.
Well, she's a 1/2. So you giant growth her, so then she's a 4, and then you drop 2 lands, and then she's an 8, and then she's a 16. She's 16.
3.
Yeah, turn 3. So yeah, she gets.
How about
very
this?
big
You
very
play
quickly.
red green. You wild ride her. She gets haste. So then she doesn't even like. She's not susceptible to dying on turn 2.
Yep.
So right, you wait till turn 3. You cast
it's
her for
such
2. You
fun.
play your land. Oh, but then no, you've already played the land. Yeah, it doesn't really work. Never mind.
Well, either way, I mean, what? You just play 4 copies of like Snakeskin Veil, and that just makes her stronger.
Dude, Snakeskin Veil, yeah, Snakeskin Veil's good, but Royal Treatment gives them Ward 1.
There we go. I mean, so my yeah, but you get my what I'm saying.
Yeah,
though.
Jared,
Yeah,
how much time do you have?
I have another 15 minutes.
Okay, we need to move on. It's not even enough time to talk about the next topic. All right, we're gonna move on. Look, there's a lot of stuff to talk about. We're gonna focus on this is probably our last topic for today. We don't even have enough time to talk about it. We're not gonna talk about lore. We don't have time for that. I want to talk about the debate, the age-old debate. Is Edge of Eternity a hat set Like, is it gonna be good or is it gonna suck? So I'll make my case. You guys say your thing. All right, I'm just gonna sum it up. You can see what I think about it in my other videos. But I think it's a hat set, and I am gonna continue to think it's a hat set until Wizards or until proven otherwise. And here's why, really quickly. Look, why are they in space? Why? What's going on? I mean, I don't really care about the lore. Look, I'll just say, look, I don't care about the lore. They can be in space all they want. I like the art. I like space. I love Star Wars. So, if they're really going to invest, if Wizards is really going to invest in this universe or whatever they're doing here and story, and we're gonna stay in space, right? Like, are we staying in space going forward? Are we gonna come back to space and stuff like that? Or is this just, hey, we're gonna be in space now and never to be seen again? Like we're not going back to becoming detectives again, are we? Or cowboys? So my thing is like, look, is this real? Is this here to stay? Or are we just gonna be in space for this one short period of time and never to return again? Go. What do you guys think?
You want to go first or me, Roger?
Go for it, Jay. I want to hear your point of view.
I mean, I do kind of agree with Eugene saying like I think you have a point about if we're here for one set and never to return, then I'll argue it was a hat set. Because that's kind of the problem with all the other ones. But as far as part of what made the other ones a hat set for me is
they wore hats.
Where
literally wore hats.
Literally.
Well,
literally.
Are we gonna wear space hats here? Space helmets?
Well, like okay. As far from what I understand, and Roger can confirm this or not, and maybe there hasn't been enough unrevealed yet, but I think Tezzeret is the only character in this set that we've seen. Like he's going to be the only face we've ever seen before. Everybody else is new. At least maybe like there's not going to be that many familiar faces at the very least. It's a lot of new people because getting to this location, the Edge of Eternities, is like difficult and tricky in general. But so the problem with like Thunder Junction was literally it was tons of different of the bad guys from Magic coming, and suddenly they're cowboys. And same thing, tons of in Murders, a ton of it was tons of characters from Ravnica who all of a sudden were detectives, even though they'd never been detectives in any past lore.
And what about cards. Them all coming to partake in this race?
Yes, exactly. And then now they're all pilots and race car drivers, right?
Well, now okay, so we're not all in space now, right? We're just here in space right now with Tezzeret.
With Tezzeret, and apparently this is something that's like always been there. I mean, technically that's true about like any of the plans or whatever, right? But yeah, Roger will know more of the lore than me at the moment. But that's one of my arguments for why it's not quite a hat set is because hopefully it's not going to be hey, here's Jace. It's not going to be Unfinity Jason in an astronaut suit, and then it's not going to be Angel Elspeth who's turned into like I don't know some sort of like Eldrazi alien monster or something.
All right, hear me out real quick. Hear me out. What about this? We get a ultimate like Wizards of the Coast runs out of ideas, right? Which yeah, they run out of ideas. Next year we get an ultimate hat set mashup. You know what I mean? They all come back. They're wearing detective hats, cowboy hats, riding their cars into space. And
so it's a giant.
So it's just all the hat sets
Magic
combined.
Smash Brothers. Magic Smash Brothers.
Yeah. But anyway, I can look. That's a good point. We're only seeing Tezzeret. I really hope that this stays because I do really like the art. The space theme and the art and stuff is cool. I don't know about the spaceship kind of a mechanic thing they're doing.
Oh yeah, I'm not crazy about that. I'm sorry. The other point I had. Oh gosh, it just left my brain. Either way, on the spacecraft, the only are they any pilot and everything doesn't like pilots don't station +2 power, do they? Are they gonna be irradiating every pilot, and it's gonna
Well, that
include
only
spacecraft now,
affects
or
vehicles to crew pilots. These are
to
spaceship
spacecraft?
is totally different.
Yeah, so like that's the only thing that if they're gonna have this handful of spacecraft, they're gonna have like virtually no home in terms of like if there's
That's a
gonna be
problem.
some. Yeah. If there's gonna be some sort of spacecraft commander or
All
something,
the
which I
commander
guarantee there's
decks. Well,
gonna
there's only
be.
2 commander decks, right, for this set, and they're both spacecraft, or like they're gonna have a spacecraft. They put multiple commander eligible cards or whatever in the commander deck, and I think
Yeah.
they're themed around that. But look, here's another thing, right? Especially for the hat sets, but a lot of sets. Like I think my main thing is I want Magic to do well. I want the sets to do well. I want them to sell well. I want the value to be good. I want the cards to be popular. And I know not all of them can do that, of course, but one thing that's common, that's shared amongst these really bad sets, is like they have very flavorful thematic mechanics that are cool in like the limited environment, like start your engines, disguise, suspected, but they're not good outside of that limited, very
Yeah.
closed off world. The good stuff is like flashback, like Final Fantasy has flashback, right? And flashback is tried and true, and it's very good. Landfall, Final Fantasy has that. But anyway, so look at what new mechanics they're putting into Edge of Eternity. So I have here warp speed. So let's see what warp speed is. Do you guys know what this is?
Cool. Before you go into that, the thing popped into my mind. I wanted to mention that one other interesting take on the vibe of this set is I think you've heard that there's a rumor of like a Star Trek speaker layer coming out, and there is I think the talk of that they've kind of created this environment so to make it I've heard the idea that they've started trying to push the boundaries of like Western theme and detectives and in space and outer space. Hey, look, magic can be anything we want it to be. Therefore, Universes Beyond's not so out of bounds. Like it's not so weird, and we can really it's trying to make it okay to go to some place like Star Trek or Star Wars.
Oh, look, if they're doing, look,
prior to them really bringing the IP.
Oh yeah, please do, please. Star Trek, Star Wars especially, like bring it. I need it. Okay, warp speed. That's in Spaceballs. When are we getting a Spaceballs secret lair? Please give me that.
They're making the new movie.
Yes.
Apparently,
So come out when the movie comes out. That's gonna be amazing. All right, warp is another named mechanic here. It appears on 2 cards. So there were leaks of cards for Edge of Eternities. I don't know if you guys saw the leaks, but once an ability template as warp, 1 swamp, and once on a card that references warped permanents you control in exile. Sounds a lot like a suspend mechanic of sorts, though there's just enough text cut off from the black card that it's unclear what the specific ability means. Either way, you'll be putting cards from your hand into exile Foretell style. And Foretell, like from Kaldheim, that was not good either.
Yeah.
So
I mean, part of the problem is like they keep to your point about them trying to create all these really thematic abilities when they're really just like rebranding of like this Foretell, possibly warp speed and plot are all just plays on suspend, right?
yes.
Which is the original mechanic, and now
And
you have
harmonize
any cards
is flashback.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Exactly. Yeah. So whenever they do that, there's all these cards that have these cool synergies with the old keyword, but because it's the same thing with a little twist and it's a new keyword, none of the synergy works anymore, and you can't like have cards that go like there's all these cards that don't have like a great home when they could have. So many cards could have like such a broader home. If they just said like this is suspend, but like this card has suspend, but like it has the added text of like give it like an additional abilities that like gives it the plot where when this card suspends you can cast it without paying its mana cost.
Well, see, like okay, Lord of the Rings, not standard legal, but they had Tempted by the Ring, super fun mechanic, but it's like okay, set's gone now. We're not going back to Lord of the Rings. We're never gonna need to, or we're never gonna be tempted by the ring again. We're never gonna. I hope we never go back to Aether Drift. So we're never gonna need to start our engines again. You know what I'm saying, right? Like, so if the mechanic is so specific to the theme of the set, we're never gonna see it again. So right, like we're never gonna see spacecrafts again unless we go back to space again, and only when we do go back to space. So we'll see spacecrafts again in the Star Wars set and in Star Trek, please. But that's what I'm saying. It's like so thematic that it's really, really hard for it to be good, for the card to actually be good outside of the set. So what like warped? We don't know what it is exactly, but it's probably some version of Blink or Foretell or whatever. But is it gonna be so tied to being in space that we'll never see it again? And if the answer is yes, it's gonna suck. The set's gonna suck. I'm sorry to all the people who like it.
And I mean, to your point about what they did good with Final Fantasy 2, that's probably one of the reasons why summons have been such a just a popular thing, is because they didn't decide to come up with what I was wondering if they were going to do, is like create like a new card type for fun or something. Instead, they just tied it in to an old, very popular card type that has many homes, and now those cards are getting played all over the place because not necessarily in standard. We'll see about that part, but in terms of Commander, summons have a million homes in Saga decks, enchantment decks, whatever, because they have all these really important card types that everybody plays with already, instead of creating some brand new thing that was going to work just for Limited or just for Final Fantasy and it's over. Instead, those are cards that are going to get played for a really long time just because they're cool and they're popular.
I think of this whole thing after reading the story and seeing a lot of the things that they have for Edge of Eternities. I, for one, am super excited not only for the storyline but also for the card game, because the storyline can actually dictate a lot of what the card game is doing in the future and how they could warp Magic into this even cooler space. So kind of like to piggyback off what you guys were talking about with spacecraft. The way I'm thinking about it right now is that imagine Earth, right? And Earth is the plane of magic, and we know all the planets around Earth, right? But we know that we are in the Milky Way galaxy. But then scientists have said that there are other galaxies out there, right? So this is kind of Magic's take on there being like another galaxy, and consider maybe a character that's going to be born in one of these planes that we already know of in Magic, where they start developing ways to get out into space, which for us or for them is to get past the blind eternities into what is called the edge of eternity, right? The outside. And Jared gave a brilliant explanation of what that was when we were talking about this earlier.
We can owe that to the Magic Story podcast,
which will hopefully be next week, right? So we're gonna talk all about the lore and everything next week, hopefully.
But I think it's going to give them good design space to start building spacecrafts or have things in the Magic.
But wait, we can't do too much space though, right? Like, we just can't do too much. Like, we can't just have every character always flying up into space.
Well, they could walk there, which is interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they could use this as another version of the Blind Eternities to go from galaxy to galaxy instead of just world to world or whatever, right? But I guess that it gives them the ability in terms of art and flavor, possibly in the future, where they can have a one or two offshoot card in each set where it could show spacey type stuff on it, because it's just it represented the story arc of a character going from one world to the other, or something that happened in between, and it's accepted that that's what's this outer space doing in the Lorwyn set. Oh, it's because that's how they got to Lorwyn or whatever. That's how that character got to Lorwyn.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because Eugene has a tab.
I gotta go, guys.
Later.
Okay.
Go.
Actually, Jared, do you have like 2 minutes, like 1 minute?
I don't.
He's already late.
Okay, go.
Go.
But go ahead, Roger. Finish your thought while I fix our video.
I think Jared would have thought this is really cool. But if you could go to the tab where we go to the story, right? So and click on episode 2.
Okay. I episode 2. Yes. Where's I only
Yep,
see. I don't
it'll be on
see
the
it on
next
the
one.
next
So
page.
if you go down, yep, go on to the next page
Okay. Yeah.
and episode 2, and then use your find function and then type in slivers.
Oh yeah, slivers. I heard about this. Yes. Mm-hmm.
So here's a quote, and it says, "Sometimes in movies, slivers mimic the sounds of things they hear to lure you in. Of course, slivers aren't real. This is one of the characters in Edge of Eternity talking about slivers and how they're not real. But we, as the reader, we know that slivers are real because we know about the plane that magic is already in. For these people, slivers are not real. They're this fictional thing that they create, that someone created, right? And they have these small little Easter eggs everywhere where these two worlds are very similar, even though they're very far apart. The other thing is that they have an entire sentient species based on the Kavu, which in Kavus in the actual magic plane don't talk or think. They're animals or monsters, whatever you like to think of them as. But in this world, there's a whole planet based on very smart, very intelligent Kavus, and they help in the fight and all these things. So we'll talk about all that in the lore, but I think they're really planning on making this a real thing, and this is going to be much bigger in the greater story of Magic the Gathering. And I can't wait till it happens. I do think it also opens them up to more design space because for a lot of things, cards that people think about, like vehicles, a lot of people don't like vehicles. They think that it was a design fail. But with spaceships, maybe this is a way for them to remedy a lot of what a vehicle is without actually changing the vehicles themselves. Now we have spaceships that may be even better as a vehicle mechanic. Um, so I don't know. I think I'm here for it. I'm very optimistic about it, but that's just me on my side.
Hold up. I am changing. Keep going. Keep going. I'm changing our thing.
All right, cool. Well, I mean, like, so from here we can get
Oh, look at us
into a.
now. Well, you can't see it, but go ahead.
We look awesome.
Sure. Awesome. Looks better than what it
If
used
you
to be.
if you go back to the stories, and if you go to episode 1,
Okay.
um, which should be so you just have to click out of this one and then just go to episode 1,
Okay. Yeah.
and then do a find function and type in Miri.
How do you spell that?
I think it's Mirrir. If
Oh,
not, it's just
Miri.
one R.
Oh, yeah.
There
This
we
is like
go,
a
Miri.
character in the Magic lore, right?
This is a character in Magic lore, and Miri is a cat in Magic lore. It's a cat warrior, and we know Miri's entire story with the Weatherlight saga. And then that's why I was like, Jared, do you have like a minute? Because he would have loved all this, the slivers and everything, and he could tell you the history about the Miri, about Miri. But here, Miri is just a cat. It's just a regular, casual cat, and cats have this thing called weft walking, where they could traverse planes, kind of like planeswalkers. But only all cats have that in the Edge of Eternities. So Tezzeret, and again, we're gonna get into the lore, so I'm not trying to skip, but stay tuned for our lore episode. We're gonna talk all about that stuff. It's gonna be really cool. And then the other thing is, if you go to the Planeswalker's Guide to the Edge,
Mm-hmm. I'm here.
yeah, and if you go all the way to the bottom, they have a glossary, and this is
So
something.
long.
This is one of the reasons. This is one of the reasons why I think that they're really serious about this. They're giving us actual definitions because they want us to know about this world. Like we
A
kind of went
gladiator.
into, yeah, we kind of went into Thunder Junction. We kind of went into
Charizard.
we kind of went into all these things, but we didn't really get too in depth into it. It was just a part of a greater story, a small piece of a greater story. But this one, they're developing it. They want you to know things. The one glossary that I wanted to show you is called Sakar.
Yes,
If you go
okay.
down,
A bead that causes singularity induction used by monoists to create a super void or to accelerate their journey to the next eternity.
so this is a lot of language that we're gonna cover what these things are in the lore. But Sakar basically means suicide. So think about Japanese when they kill themselves. This is the same act, but this is their
You mean like
definition for that act.
kamikaze?
Not kamikaze. It's more of like a samurai. A samurai when they kill. I forget what they call that.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. But samurais, they like stab themselves though, right?
Yeah, they stab themselves. I
But
forget what
this
that act
says
is
a
called.
bead. So this is something they eat. That somebody eats.
Yeah, because yeah, we're gonna talk about what that means and what a monoist is, because you have to understand what that is in order to understand that this is suicide, by choice. Um, and it's really cool. It's very fascinating. They're really trying to develop
Whoa,
the
whoa, whoa.
story. They want it to
Suicide's
be
a
clear.
heavy, heavy topic. Okay. This is
Oh, it's a heavy
singularity
topic.
induction.
Oh yeah, the way that this beat sends them to this awesome afterlife is brutal, bro.
Okay.
It's
Okay.
brutal.
This all right. Look forward to the story time with Roger next week or next time. Um, look, still a hat set to me until they prove otherwise. Only time will tell. I hope it's not. Okay. But we will see.
I'm hoping it's not.
But
I think the world is cool.
I do see,
Mhm.
for all of those people who are saying it's not a hat set, like I can see the possibility, right? I am open. I can see it that they're potentially investing more into the story, into building this whole universe and Galaxy and Edge stuff. Uh, so we'll just have to see if this is like a real thing or if this is just a one off.
Yeah. See, these are the sentient Kabus, dude. So I think it's gonna introduce new creature
Kavus, they're
types,
not
which is
new.
crazy.
Kavus in space.
Yeah, yeah. They're called
That's
something
pretty
else. They're
cool.
not called Kabu.
But
But
hey,
yeah,
I mean, another thing which is interesting is right aside from Star Wars, Star Trek, space kind of stuff, which I like. Dune, Dune,
dude,
Dune. Yeah, some Dune. Let's
dude,
get some universe beyond Dune up in here. Because a lot of this
that's
is
gonna be
like
sick.
I don't know. It reminds me of Dune also.
Yeah, dude,
Ah,
it
this
is.
looks amazing. This looks so cool. But this also kind of reminds me of like the Dragon Storm.
Yes, there's so many parallels.
Just the
I,
art.
yeah, it's so beautiful, man. It's so beautiful, dude. I can't wait to get into
Wow,
the
look
lore
at the
episode. We're
art
gonna
though.
see
This
like a lot
is
of parallels and stuff.
look at this. This is so cool. So yeah, the art looks really good. I'm not denying that. We'll just have to see how it goes. I mean, this is what is this? This is the Death Star blowing up a planet. I mean, this is a planet getting blown up by the Death Star. Is what I'm looking at here. Everything. I'm just gonna. Everything is just Star Wars to me. Okay, that's all I know.
They actually think more astronomy. I think they went more the astronomy route, where they explain their own version of a Big Bang and how this place came to be, right? Um, just very very interesting. But we'll talk about it, man. I'm telling you, man, so cool, dude. So much cool stuff here.
So much cool stuff. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, I mean, mm,
How they tie it all together is the thing that I'm actually anxiously waiting for, because how they tie these together is gonna,
like this reminds me of this is like Dune right here. Just the
yeah.
swords, the spacesuits, the fighting, right? Because it's not. This is not giving Star Wars lightsaber vibes. And we actually, and I don't know if this might be because there's a lot of swords and stabs types of weapons. See, these are swords and stabs and stuff. I don't know. Do you know like is Wizards of the Coast Magic just really anti guns, right? Like we're not gonna see laser guns and stuff. Do you know if that's true?
That's very interesting. I'm actually not positive. I don't know if there has been a gun
Well,
developed
because
by Wizards
I
of the Unsaid.
because I believe that when they were doing Outlaw Thunder Junction, there were no guns.
Should
Even though it was a Wild
Yeah,
West cowboy kind of a thing, there were no guns in Outlaws of Thunder Junction set. And so I don't know if this is like it probably is, right? Like they're intentionally just not gonna have any guns in any of the artwork or the story or whatever. So look, lasers being shot from spaceships, maybe we'll look at that hopefully. But without like laser pistols, so we're just gonna have are we just gonna have a bunch of people with swords in space, non lightsaber swords?
That's very, very interesting.
See, there's
Actually,
like, see these,
uh,
this spaceship looks like it's shooting some type of laser thing,
yep,
but everyone just looks like they're having like melee weapons. Like,
hand-to-hand
yeah, see,
combat.
like just a bunch of swords. This is
They
this
do
is total. Look
describe
at
an
this. This is
entire war.
Dune right here.
Yeah, dude, it's so cool, dude. I'm telling you, it's freaking awesome, dude.
Sorry, what were you saying?
They have 2 to 3 episodes or stories dedicated to a war that's happening, right? So there's actually whole fight scene that describe, and I think you're absolutely right, dude. It was all hand-to-hand combat, melee
Oh,
style.
look at this. It's cool.
This is an iconic scene in the story, dude.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, there are, what's cool is in the art that I'm just looking at, a lot of battle scenes, like a lot of people wielding weapons in battle and stuff like that. It looks pretty cool. I think when we were doing this and looking through Tarkir Dragonstorm, it wasn't as the art or the pictures they were showing were not as intense as this stuff. There were some like
Yeah.
there were dragons obviously, and there were some like tornado or whatever they're called, dragon storms where dragons came out of, so that was interesting. But the art, like a lot of the art in this is very intense, like very, like look, there's like a big satellite or space station being crashing down, getting blown up right here, and there's like this dude, this alien guy, he's cheering it on, happy because he's probably like, right, this is like those people in Star Wars on Tatooine. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
And
dude.
they're like, they don't have
Yeah,
any
that's really
technology
cool.
and stuff, and they're like, yeah, we just took down a big spaceship. So that's what everything Star Wars to me. I mean, if any other stuff, I'm just gonna connect it all to Star Wars or Dune.
Well, I think that was a huge inspiration because this is their attempt to a space opera. There's no hiding it. They've even talked about it. This is our attempt to a
Yeah.
space odyssey,
Mm.
space opera. Like this is our thing.
I just hope we
Um,
still get Star Wars. I hope, cause like we have Strixhaven, okay, and while Strixhaven is fine, it's obviously trying to be like Harry Potter, I think.
yeah.
Um, but Harry Potter would just be so cool. Now, are we never gonna get Harry Potter because we have Strixhaven? And are we ever gonna get Star Wars? Like, are we never gonna get Star Wars now because we have Edge of Eternity?
I guess only time will tell, you know? Like, time will tell.
I hope we get Star Wars regardless. But all right. Well, thank you everyone for tuning in. Stay tuned next time. Roger's gonna hit us all with the huge lore. I don't think we'll have enough time for it. We're gonna have to force them to go really, really fast on the lore. Roger, you got to prep maybe some PowerPoint slides, PowerPoint deck, something like that. And then we got a lot of other stuff that we need to talk about. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we'll see you next week.